So I was born in July 31st, 1956. My parents said I was born at Ibadan. What's the main hospital there? Is it okay? What hospital in those days? Adeoyo. Thank you. I was born there. As I was told, I was born on a day where, by my birth, coincided with a traditional cultural the Olubadan of this important festival, and from what people said in those days was that any child born on that day had to have a tribal mark. That was there. So I was made to believe that my parents had to move me out of Ibadan quickly down to Lagos. And I grew up in Lagos. My dad was working at Kappa and the Balto in those days. So we tend to move around. So my childhood really, what I could recollect was that later on my dad worked for the British High Commission in those days. So by virtue of that, we had some ways, because in those days, as working for the British High Commission, you were privileged to be in the compound of the High Commissioner. I remember then, those privileges were there. We worked for, he was attached to the Deputy High Commissioner. So part of my youth was spent at Ikoyi Crescent, to be precise, in those days. Then later on, we moved when he started serving the British High Commission. Then we moved to number 1 Marina, which was the official residence of the British High Commissioner. Oh, my dad his name is, that one is another story on its own. He was born, I knew him as Freeborn, Michael Freeborn. He was Michael Freeborn. But where are you from? Bayelsa. He's an Odi man. My mom is from Namabiri, all in Bayelsa. Odi is just, they are neighboring towns. Caught between the river Non. So if crossing over to my mom's side, you have to take a river by boat. To my mom's side, I'll cross the river Non to Agberi. My mom is from Agberi. My mom is a trader. She was a trader, Margaret. Her name is Margaret. But we commonly call her sister. Why? We call her sister because then we belong to a church, the God's Kingdom Society. And women are called sisters and brothers and all those things. But then we had a grandmom. My grandma, we refer as Mama. Then my mom is called sister, all those things. So, but when I was growing up, they separated. So I didn't grow up with my mom. I was still with my dad and his stepmom. That is how my life started, because my parents did not stay together. They parted when I was a child. So my dad made sure, he believed in education, so I think he enrolled me at Ireti Primary School at Ikoyi, which was one of the elitist schools in those days. Getting there, I remember when he wanted to put me there, the administrator just liked me and decided to put me at Ireti Primary School. So many of we have many of these, the children of naval police, the head of the Navy, Admiral Way, Sage, Mildred, many of them were my classmates because it was sort of a nice school. And that is how I believe became a foundation for me. My primary school was solid. It became a foundation later part in my life. So I stayed with my mom was not as I spent most of my life with my stepmom, and of course my dad was away in the field. And those common things were there. My dad sadly passed away in 1968 when I was about 12 or 10. 1968 towards the end of the Second World War. So I think that was when changes started coming to my life. He passed away after the Second World War. I mean, during the Biafra, towards the end of the Biafra War. I think the Biafra War ended in 1970. I remember those days where Lagos was under a state of emergency and all those things. So he passed on in 1968 through illness. And I remember that the British High Commission was involved in his burial and they paid off his. So, but again, when he died, that's when you wanted to know certain changes. Of course, that was become a big change in my life. You have to now move to a different location. Then I had an uncle. My uncle is known as Alfred, the late Alfred Sado Namabiri. My uncle just came from Nsukka with his family of about 8 during the Second World War. I mean, during the Biafran War, he came to Lagos. You know, his house was destroyed at Nsukka during the Biafran War. So himself and the family came by bush. They found their way into Lagos. And for my uncle to arrive in Lagos and losing his brother, you know, it was a very chaotic. He had not settled down, losing his own younger brother. So my uncle stayed at somewhere in the Lagos Island. I still remember all those places vividly. In a Petedo area of Tapa Street, 47 Tapa Street. There are certain things that you just can't forget, you know. I remember I used to have my own room to myself. Then suddenly you lost your dad and you have to move because I had other siblings, myself and my other 3 sisters by my stepmom. So we have to move from Marina in the British High to a room and parlor with about 12 children during the end of towards the beginning of you know, those things. And I remember then that that is how we started. It was, but then you don't know this impact on. I think those are the things that will build one's foundation in life. When you are not privileged to stay with your parents, then I had to move in with my uncle. Called traditional, I have to stay with him. My mom has her own property at Ajemle. My grandmother, okay, but by virtue of her custom, I have to move in to my uncle's place. My uncle was a top chef at the Nigerian hotels, limited in those days. In fact, he was a top chef at Bristol Hotel, Ikoyi Hotel, and Jos Hotel. Nigerian hotels used to be a very wonderful hotel in those days. I remember in my early years trekking from Okesuno down to Ikoyi. My ireti was at Queen's Drive. From Okesuno, trek down to Ikoyi to go to primary school, come back. So that was my early childhood. And from there on, luckily I applied to my secondary school days. And I applied to my secondary school. I remember applying to St. Finbar's College, Igobi, and Odobolo Grammar School. But I decided not to stay in Lagos. I decided to stay in Boarding House. Go to the because of the tension at home. I wanted to live home where I could face, just leave the pressure of home. And room and just a room and parlor. You know, just face me and face you. I was at 12 or 4 sleeping on the floor on the mat. You know, it was not as wonderful as we think it is. But thank God, you know, there are certain things that happen you think is natural in life. But I went to my secondary school education was at Odobolo Grammar School, at Odobolo there, which is now in Ogun State. So I think I finished Odobolo Grammar School in 1974. But the thing about my secondary school was that I couldn't finish my school cert because I was very sickly. In fact, if you see some of my classmates that wrote, I used to have serious asthma attack. So in fact, it was so bad that the school authority had to exempt me from manual labor. But academically I was sound, you understand? So they knew not that I was lazy, but my mental. But luckily in the hostel I had nice friends because most of us were Lagosians and I stayed in the boarding house. You know, they looked after me. But one of the things that I did not have the problem of finishing my school cert, because on the week of my school cert, I think we had to do sweepers at 7. I was sick. And in this part of there's no PT, so I was sick in the hospital. I remember that Taipei General Hospital, I was there, and the school cert was going on, so I was able to only do few papers in my school cert because I was sick. So that's how I finished. But when I finished my secondary school, to meet of those papers I did not do well, I had to now go and do external candidate. That's 1974-75. I had to now go outside and do my English, maths, and I was good in fine art, which I now do to get my. So I have 2 certificates, you know. But people don't know why this man has to, not because the person failed, you know. But I remembered all those things. Those are briefly. Staying with my uncle was a challenging moment. I thank God because without him I wouldn't have had the privilege of being educated. It was very challenging, which I don't want to go too much into those details. You know, stay with somebody else, with your wife and all those things. You know, you just have to be smart. You have to be yourself. I think those are the things that gave me the foundation of life. I grew up not having parents. I grew up focusing on my instinct and moving on. You see, when you are where you don't have it, Daddy, what do I do? You have to adapt and start taking decisions about my future. Because I don't have the privilege of, there are people that will help you, but that's the you just have to. So I think those are the fundamentals that built my foundation in life. So that was how my secondary school went. I remember that I wanted to be an Air Force pilot. I passed the exam and went to Kaduna for interview, but because of health problems, that area closed. But luckily, I think I was lucky. I got my first job at the Federal Audit Department. I became a Federal Audit Department at Kakawa Street. So I was an auditor. I started as an audit clerk at the Federal Audit Department. Then from there on, I moved on to IBWA because I wasn't happy with the salary in the ministry. I think we were paying 19 naira after a dodgy. I think we were paying some for 50 naira. So then after a dodgy, they told it. I came in after a dodgy, but 19 naira was the monthly salary. So the banks were, then I said, if the bank can pay me 190 naira or 200 naira per month, why can't I go there? So I moved on. I was a mover. I don't stay somewhere just marking time. So I moved on to United Bank for Africa in Qatar, in Apapa, Wharf Road, Apapa. That is how I started my banking career. I now discovered I loved the job. I loved banking. It was an environment for me. Then from then on, I moved to Barclays Bank, ready at 131 because it later became Union Bank after the indigenization decree. It used to be Barclays. Later, it became Union Bank. Many people don't know that Union Bank used to be Barclays Bank. If you see their logo, it's blue. You know, then it used to be Eagle. So then I moved to Barclays Bank at 131 Broad Street. Then I was there and I remember that I just loved the whole thing, so I decided to say, let me become a professional banker. And I started, and then I registered the intriguing thing about Union Bank was that they had a system. I was employed as a temporary staff because you have to stay 1 year before you are made permanent. You have to do, they have that program. So, but when I employed, I started doing my professional banking course, the Chartered List of Bankers course. I registered. I told one of my boss I wanted to be a banker. Then he said, I said, fill this form. He paid the form for me. Yeah, so the late Mr. Benson. So I became a member of the London Chartered List of Bankers, but you have to do your exam. I remember as a temporary staff, I now passed few subjects in my stage 1 banking in Nigeria here. So when the result came, the bank had a problem. Most of their supervisors are not qualified. Now they have this young man that sat his exam. So from temporary staff, they have to make me a supervisor and give me big signatory. So within a few months, they have to skip a look because they have no choice. They just have to do it. So I was one of the youngest signatory in those days in the Union Bank. And to be a signatory, signing checks and all those things. So when I started my school, all this thing I'm saying about 18, 19 years old. So from Union Bank, I remember I became a departmental head. Then I moved on to what's the name of this? I moved on to IMB, which was the former First National Bank of Chicago, FNBC. FNBC came to Nigeria, but later on it was changed to IMB. I moved on from Union Bank to become a merchant banker. Later IMB at Awolowo Road, Ikoyi. That is where I met my wife. So I became a chartered banker, a merchant banker at Awolowo Road, Ikoyi. And I think that is where, to progress on all those things, I decided to move abroad to further my studies in banking. I think I left Nigeria for London in 1985. Towards the end of 1984 to 1985. I remember, I think either January 1985 I left. Not because I was well paid in IMB, but I wanted to do further, finish my professionalism in banking. So I left for abroad in 1985 and I enrolled at one of the top banking schools, City Banking College in London. I studied that, and in year 1998 I qualified and became a chartered banker. That year, after a few years, 1996, I got my professionalism, and I passed the Chartered List of Bankers exam, which was very tough exam because this is a professional course and everything. Then after that, I went to Westminster College and did certified diploma in accounting and finance. So over the years, my life has been in banking, and that I remember I worked briefly for NNPC London office. Briefly I was there. I was sent to Paris. I was in Paris for 3 years. Then from there I joined the Société Générale Bank, which was a French bank in Paris. Then they sent me back to London. So not the society, they had the society, it's called Société Générale Bank. So that was where I worked till I left banking. And when I left banking, I ventured into opening one of the first. I went into restaurant business. But over that year, my wife had we have a business in London established, which we produced. We had a hairdressing salon in London. that was there. But personally, I went into a restaurant. I went into the restaurant trade in London. I think the restaurant business was from 2003. The first 5-star restaurant in the west end of London, a Nigerian restaurant called Angie's African Cuisine. A lot of people know it. Many ex-governors, they know that. That is where they used to dine and etc. So that is, I went into the restaurant business in London. Over the years, the business did not make it. It collapsed with a lot of problems and all those things. So in 2007, I closed down the restaurant. So we decided to leave that and now form a force into the air business. So we have a shop in London, in the prime location of London. If you know, that is what we started doing, and by God's grace, after that, God just blessed our business and it became a global brand that produced what we call a Fumier. Fumier is a global brand. Over that, it became very popular, and by good management and structure and everything, we started that business, so that's what we've been doing. And I think the business has been there for 25 years. So far, 25 or 30 years we've been in the business industry. Understand? So my background basically is in finance, banking, and all those things.
I no mind, make I suffer. It no matter. See my brother, story of money. I go grind for my baby. See no delay. Timba jale, story of money. Party me yo, chantolo. Million no, chantolo. Yado papa yo, chantolo. Akore dem yo, chantolo. Me yo, Jantolo, Miliano myo, Jantolo, Yellow Papa myo, Jantolo, I go red myo. Never get here, alone need your rent here. The top is your resident, hotel the president. Now I name you party fair, low sherry. So anything the party fair, beg on the la sherry, no. And you lọ́wọ́ yẹnu àtẹ̀pá òun lẹ́sẹ̀ ń tẹ̀ náà ikọ́ kíkọ́ jò lọ́nà bébí kókù jẹ́ kọ́mọ lóore jì sí kòtò. I no mind, make I suffer, it no matter. See my brother, story of money, I go grind for my baby. See no delay, Timba jale, story of money, party me yo, Jantolo, Miliano myo, Jantolo, Yado papa myo, Jantolo, Akore dem myo, Jantolo, party me yo, Jantolo, Miliano myo, Jantolo, Yado papa myo, Jantolo, Akore dem myo, Jantolo. Ìyá rẹ̀ lè lówó lọ́wọ́, bàbá rẹ̀ lè ná sílẹ̀ kan, tó bá gbójúlé wọn, ó tẹ́tọ́ mo sọ fún ẹ̀yẹ. That's what they told me, baby, for elementary, baby. But now I realize we all need someone to lean on. Èmi ni P.O.P. rẹ̀, I go down, baby no be mine. Oh yeah, boogie down. Marry, Fanda, Mayo, be oba. Hold you down. Oh yeah, boogie down.
All right. I think we met in INB, National Merchant Bank. She was vast in business. I was a banker. You understand? So she used to, she's caters for most of the banks. INB was it was about 4-story building. We were on top, we occupied the second and third. Barclays Bank was on the ground floor. If you still go there, it's still there. Although INB have moved to Victoria Island. So it's still there. So our staff used to supply us food.
I met my husband at INB, Merchant Bank. I was a caterer there, and it was money monetary signature moments in the bank there. So that's where the relationship started.
I think she will say the story better, but I think one something incident happened. You see, by virtue of my upbringing, I hate cheating. And I'm realistic about it. I don't care who you are. I like social justice. Anybody that knows me, I hate cheating. I love social justice. We are all human beings. First, that's my first rule in life. I don't care who you are. Ask my staff. We're all human beings. I don't think that's not, we all human beings created in God's image.
Yeah, I'm a hairdresser as well, so I'm a beautician. So that's how we continue. It's like any other relationship. We all just have to submit for one another. And it's just love. That's all I know about it.
So I think some of our staff, we're having tough time. You know that treatment, that African treatment. So every day I'm just fighting management. How are you treating these people like that? I think when I was in that, they were telling them, there's some man there that is always fighting. So I think the rest is history. We met her there, you understand. She had a restaurant at Namabiri. We used to go there and eat, my friends, and then we go there and eat, and I think that is how we met. So it was in INB we met. I think, that's interesting. I think the point of attraction was I met a woman that was very generous, too hardworking, and free, honest to the core. You see, many people go for certain things like education, this, that. I remember when we were married, when we were dating, suppose you went to marry Omoleba, those things. A young banker, went to marry a woman, bringing her back, that type of stigma. But I just wish this one was different. I met a woman that is well established. So it wasn't money or anything. Both of us were, I'm successful, you understand? Not that she was successful in her own way, big time. So it was the love for the person.
And not for the world.
Never in her life. No, never.
When you love someone and someone loves you back, the Lord speaks for everything. So any situation we meet ourselves, we try to sort it out.
It's not fake, it's natural. It's there. Up till they are married now, we are still together. We are brothers and sisters. You see, those are the qualities, it never changes. Rather, it's developing. You see, when we are friends at first, don't marry your friend. We are friends at first. We are husband and wife. We are mother and sister. She's my father, I'm her father, she's my mother. We are friends at first, you understand? So when people are talking this day, I say, look, friendship is very important. Sometimes this marriage, husband and wife, brings problem. There's tension, but if it's your friend and you humble yourself, I think it's just natural.
My darling. Prince Isaac Namabiri, it has been a very loving guy, caring.
There's always a conflict. We are two separate. They are two separate people.
But like the word always.
Yes, in any relationship there is conflict. But how do you manage it?
And whenever we have any misunderstanding, we try to resolve it within ourselves. He's my friend. He's my husband. He's my partner in business. And he's a loving father to his children.
Like me now, there's nothing my wife can do that bothers me. She's my wife. Am I making sense? I won't go to bed and sweat over it. She's my wife. Am I making sense? Then humble yourself. If you humble yourself, you don't have any problem. Look, people have problem because they want to be oga in their marriage with their children, with their workers. No.
The only thing I try to remove is quietness. He can be so quiet. Once there is love, you can resolve any conflict between husband and wife. If there is no love, then everything will just be going wrong. We won't understand each other. It's bright. And every day we always commit everything in the hand of God to help us continue the relationship in true love.
Humble yourself. If my marriage works, it's on me. If it doesn't work, it's on me. So I have to make it work by humbling myself. First, I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, I'm a minister. I have to practice the gospel in my house. The Bible says, love your wife as Christ loved the church. It didn't say, what does it say? Love your wife, even as Christ loved the church. So it's a simple thing. If you make Christ, if you take your command from Christ, then you have no problem.
As husband and wife, we are colleagues as well. We work together perfectly because I'm a businesswoman and my business runs a lot of staff, which he is now the chairman, and all my children, beautiful, handsome ones, they've been participating in this business right from day one, and that is how the business can grow. We all have up and down, but we just have to sort it out and make it good. Once there is love,